Already May 14th, about noon, and I'm getting ready to float across the river. I got my kayak with me, and I don't know if you can make it out down there. There's water down there about 100 yards, and there are boat landings that I could use, but they're way up river, and I want to get to this point across the river, and so I'm gonna drag my kayak down the hill. That's not gonna be hard going down. Coming back, it might be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll make do. Would have been, or I was planning on being out here at daybreak, but I was up late last night. I didn't get to bed till about 11 o'clock, and my alarm was set for 2 a.m. to drive an hour and a half down here to hunt. I never even heard my alarm, so I don't know if it shows it was set when I got up, finally got up. But I don't know, maybe I was just so tired that I didn't even hear it, or just slapped the snooze while I was half asleep. At any rate, I missed a morning hunt, which I really don't like. I like being out here at least to hear them gobble, kind of pinpoint locations, even if they go quiet after daybreak. At least I know where birds are in the general area. But I figured I'd float across the river. The river's been flooded. It got back. I mean, I guess it receded, got back in its banks maybe 2 weeks ago. So I'm hoping that the birds are back in there already. They like to pitch across from these bluffs and go to those flat bottoms on the other side. And there's, especially when the new growth's coming up after the flooding's receded, they can get in there in the bugs and the new growth. There's a lot of food over there for them. So I'm hoping to strike a midday gobbler over there. But anyway, I'm gonna get the kayak off the truck here and get down there and float across the river, and hopefully we can continue our success here in Wisconsin. Certainly would be nice. So let's get this thing unloaded and get across the river. Well, I made it across the river in one piece without getting wet. You guys can see that big old hill up there. I don't know, quarter mile, half mile beyond the top of that ridge right there, you can see is where I killed that gobbler yesterday. And what these birds like to do, if you notice, it's flat on that side. You know, south of this, or whatever direction it is, west or south of this this bluff here. Usually I don't hear or work any birds on this side where there's also swamp bottom on the other side. It's usually where there's bluffs, and these bluffs start right here and go up that way. And that's usually where I find birds, on this side, in the flat side. And what I think they're doing is they're up there and they just readily pitch across. Whereas any birds down there are not so eager to fly across. Number one, they're already in swamp bottoms or flats or whatever you want to call them. And why would they want to come over here? They've got everything over there same as over here. When you get to these bluffs and go up there, all they got is, you know, hardwoods and whatnot. And you got all this fresh growth and greenery and bugs and everything else that are taking advantage of this new growth. So the turkeys just pitch across and they take advantage of it too. So I'm gonna start here and we'll work my way up the river and see if I can strike a bird. And I'll be in here for quite a while. If I get out of here, if I don't hear anything and I get out of here in time, there's a little private chunk that I'm gonna try and hit this afternoon. And hopefully we won't need that. Hopefully we find a bird back here. So I'm gonna finish getting this gear out of the boat here, or the kayak, and get on the move. See this flowering plum tree or whatever it is? I'm gonna guess about 60 yards up through the woods there, right on this little canal. Turkey just flew away. I'm gonna get in here and make a call. That's a good sign. I mean, I just beached the kayak right here and there's a turkey. Now, I don't know what it was. It sounded pretty loud. Could have been a gobbler. It didn't. I don't know. I'm not gonna start second guessing or trying to figure out what it was. It was obviously a turkey flying away. I just hope it was a hen and not a gobbler. Here's a big tree right here. This will be a good one. So I'm gonna stand beside it and make my call. And if a bird gobbles, I'll just sit down beside it. Got a little bit of shade around it. Oh, look at this. Look at this right here. Turkey egg. And there's a good possibility that egg hatched. As you can see, looks like it was chopped across the top, just like a turkey would hatch. The chick would peck it out. Why is it out here? Because I doubt any turkeys nest here. It's a possibility that it got washed downstream, or a crow found the nest after the birds had hatched and carried the eggshell here and then dropped it out of the tree. There's an otter. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh, look at that. I bet that's what that otter was feeding on. You see that fish laying across that log right there? I think I'm past the bulk of the water. I think it's pretty, well, I'm not gonna say that. It's not pretty dry this way, but there's less of these little sloughs and potholes. What water there is very shallow. There's a bunch of mud back in here. This big old snapping turtle. I'm not gonna bother him. We'll keep chugging along real slowly. I'm gonna head back towards the kayak, but probably go beyond it. See if I can strike a bird down that way. And if I don't hear anything, then I'm gonna paddle back across, and if I have time, I'm gonna hunt the other side. If not, I have a buddy that I'm meeting over in Minnesota. We're gonna try and roost some birds tonight if we have time, but we're definitely gonna hunt tomorrow morning over in Minnesota. So let's get to walking, see if we can strike a bird. I'm almost back to the kayak, and I flushed a turkey out of a tree again. He was right up in this tree here, the one with the very little leaves on it. And I got a good look at it. It was a juvenile hen. I could see the staggered tail on it as it flew away. So I got boot tracks right through here, so obviously I came through here earlier and nothing flushed out, but I did have one fly out earlier when I first landed the kayak. And now I'm coming back and there's another one in the tree. So what are they doing, pitching off from the other side and then landing in the trees on this side, or are they just loafing, or what are they doing? Maybe they're eating something up there, the fresh buds coming out of the trees. Anyway, I'm almost to the kayak. I'm gonna shove off in a little bit, and I think I'm gonna just head over to Minnesota and try to roost some birds over there for tomorrow morning's hunt, and hopefully get the odds in our favor. All right, folks, I made it over to Minnesota. I was telling them earlier I was out kayaking trying to get one, and this is Peter DANAKIS.
Hi, everybody.
I don't know who he is. I'm just the first time I met him. We've talked on the phone.
Sure.
Scott Hook, with Hook's Calls, kind of hooked this hunt up. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So you met Scott when, last year?
No. I think 4 years ago. He and I started talking on the phone about different calls and stuff to do for beginners. I just got into this. Mm-hmm. And then went down to the show in Nashville, the National. Met him there, and his brother Norman, super cool guys. And just been buying his mouth calls ever since.
And you've been hunting this property how
long? 3 years now.
And you've been turkey hunting for 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, so you've been turkey hunting ever since, from the get-go on this property?
From the get-go, yes.
All right. So anyway, we worked out our schedules this year in order to hunt together. And I don't know what I'm going to do other than document maybe another year without killing one.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Don't jinx us.
So we are on a piece of private that you have permission to hunt. And there's public land around here also. So if we can't get one here, we can jump on the public.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're up here trying to roost a bird this evening. In your experience, where do they normally roost on this property?
I typically hear them in that direction and in that direction.
Okay. Where are you originally from? I see Florida plates. Is that a rental or?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're from where?
Just outside of Chicago.
Chicago.
And I lived up
My
here.
My condolences.
I lived up here for a few years. These are family friends, and then moved back to Chicago.
I guess we should get to trying to roost birds. I think it's officially sunset now, and birds typically go to roost between now and about 15 minutes after, depending on where you're at. Out west, they may be a little later getting to roost, because this is a big field, so there's a lot of ambient light still, and so sometimes they'll stay out in the field a little bit later. Oops, I guess I better watch how this camera's drifting. But I can do it from right here. And you said over this, behind this old homestead,
they're about maybe 300 yards that way. I hear the gobbler.
Okay.
And over in that corner
Let me
there.
show the folks. So yeah, we got a tree line over here on the other side of the field, and that's about where you hear them over there, or to the left.
Actually, both. I hear them here, and I hear them here.
Okay, so you hear them here, and then on the other side.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll hoot first, and then maybe get the coyote howl. That's that really works well, doing the coyote howl. But I usually like to use something a little more subtle the first time, and owl.
Do you use a mouth call to the coyote?
Mm-hmm.
Or just your?
I just use a mouth call.
Yeah.
So I basically I explained it in one of my other videos. I basically use, like, if you're going to kiki, I use that for that howl, and then the rasp of a mouth call for that bark. Thought I heard one back that way. Could have been that car or whatever that is. Is that on this side? So he's straight down the hill there?
Yeah, I'd estimate. So there's
He's right down this valley.
Yeah, there's a path. There's a path down on that side that goes down, and they roost right off of that edge up there too. That's the other spot I'm talking about, but that's on the other side of the, kind of like 3/4 of the way down that field.
You think it's on this side of the road, right?
It is, yes.
All right, so I'm gonna drop a pin kind of where I think that bird is. Oh yeah, he's right.
That could be the other side of the road.
Well, I'm gonna drop a pin right here where he's gobbling up his heads now. Whatever that was supposed to mean. He's gobbling his head off now. Today is the 14th, 8:40 p.m. It almost sounds level with us, which means he's probably across the road then. Or is that too far?
There's a little bit of turf to go here.
Well, if he's up in a tree, because this drops off pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's get over here back where the cars were and get an angle on him and we can triangulate with.
Sounds good.
I'm going to howl back this way so it's not blasting his face. I think he is across the road.
Yeah.
Let me show the folks that. There's the road we came up down there. That's a heck of a hill. It's amazing how close that sounds. But yeah, and that's not their property, is it? So nothing gobbling on this side, or should we? Huh?
We should try that corner.
Let's head up there, because I heard one way off. And oh, he's not that far. We walked, what, 60 yards? Look how much. That one just got.
What I told you in the beginning?
What's that?
I was telling you they were over here, like at this end of the field. What is that, about 500 yards? Coyote.
What's that? Where's that road go? Does it curve around?
Let me think for a second, Shane.
I'm gonna mark
Here,
this.
this. It does that. Fades. There's another ridge there, and it's on the other side of the ridge.
I'm gonna try to get a better bearing on with this. Did they gobble at the same time? I heard that. That's a different bird. He doesn't sound as close as he did the first, unless he turned away from us. All right, so I'm gonna use these cedar trees I should be able to see on the map. All right, folks, we got a few birds located, and we're gonna go back and review the maps, and we kind of know where they're at, and then we'll be able to look at the boundaries. There is public on one side of this property, and so that gives us room to run and gun. And so I guess we're just gonna come up with a game plan. We'll probably, I don't know, depending on where he's at, what I see will dictate where we start in the morning. So we're gonna go back and figure all that out, and then we'll let you know in the morning what we decided. I feel like I gotta keep bending over.
No, I gotcha.
He's got the camera like way down here.
Making you look like a rock star, man.
Oh, yeah.
You'll pay me later.
Morning, everyone. Peter DANAKIS, Shane Simpson. So let me give you guys a quick summary of what happened yesterday. We were on the property that Peter has permission to hunt up on the hill, and we got a couple birds to gobble. And so our best estimate, we dropped a pin where they were at. Looking at the map when we got back to the room last night, turns out that we think the one bird is on a point that's on public land. We think he's out on that ridge. So that's kind of our guesstimate. We'll find out when they start gobbling, if he starts gobbling this morning, where he's at. But we're going to slip up the property line, and we're going to get basically with the property line on our back facing out towards a point, because we think he's on the end of that point. So that's where we're headed now. Hopefully that's where the bird is roosted, and we got it right. We kind of drew a line from, there's a barn up on the field and some cedar trees, and I kind of had the gobbler in line with that. When I drew a straight line to the next ridge, that ridge was on public. So that's kind of where I'm getting my, figuring out where he's at. So we're gonna find out here in a little bit. We're gonna head up the mountain here. Good morning again, everyone. So we made it to the top of the ridge here. You're not gonna be able to see me, so you're just going to enjoy the horizon getting bright. We sat down beside a big oak tree up here. We really have no idea where the gobbler is located, so we're just kind of waiting for it to get light. Hopefully he gobbles or drums so we can pinpoint him, and then we'll slide around the tree to face whichever way he is. So I think we got up here pretty quietly. He was really dark when we got up here, so hopefully he thinks we were just a deer coming up through here. Right now it's just a waiting game. Wait for him to make that first sound, and then we can go from there. So just bear with us for a moment as the sun slowly brightens the area. I'm gonna run my owl hooter and see if we can get this bird to gobble before it gets too bright. Perfect. He's right where we thought he was.
He's there, right?
He's straight down the point. I think I see him.
looks like he's right at eyeball level, out on the end of that point. Slightly to the right where your gun's pointing. Right, no, back, right there. He's about eyeball level. You're not going to be able to see him with your naked eye. I can barely see him myself. No, same one. He just double gobbled, that's all. He's close though, you can hear the rumble in his gobble. Listen to that one across the valley just gobbling his head off. Don't move. There's a hen around here somewhere. Did you hear that hen?
I did.
She's just to our right. I can't see her, but she's close. She sounds like she's eyeball level also. I just heard him drum. He said, doo. I guess I don't need to tell you guys at home that this bird is roosted basically where we thought he would be, down on the end of this point. So we got set up in the dark. We got set up in the dark and we got set up perfectly facing him with the decoy off to our right slightly towards him. So I think we're in a great situation here. And we got a hen slightly off to our right though. Let's just hope he doesn't side hill us and stay out of view. It's time for him to get out of that tree. Time for us to kill him.
There's that hen again.
I think she's getting ready to fly down. Yeah, there she is in the tree. I see her.
Yeah, I see it too. Should I be aiming towards the decoy?
I mean, I'll let you know when to shoot him.
Should I be aiming towards the decoy?
No, just aim where you're at. He's coming.
Yes, I see him.
He's coming right for us. You see him, right?
Yes.
You just shoot whenever you think it's appropriate.
Tell me when he's close enough.
I mean, he's in gun range now.
You don't wait, do you? He's in gun range now. Boom. I noticed he had a missing tail fan feather.
That's a nice bird. Wow, look at that bird. That's a nice bird.
Pick him up. Let's see what he looks like. He's got some barring in his tail fan.
Look at how big his hat is, man.
Yeah.
That's insane.
You want me to pick him up?
Yeah, grab him by his feet and hold him up. Let's take a look at him. He's got a nice beard. It might be a multiple bearded bird, how thick it is. 1.8" spurs. Oh, those pearl spurs with the black tips. Those are pretty. Just a little over 1 inch, yeah. What's his beard look like? Nice thick one. Yeah. Sun's just now creeping up. It shows you basically how early it was we killed this bird. Minnesota, public land, your first longbeard and on public land, so that's pretty cool. This couldn't have worked out basically any better than we were hoping.
Perfect.
Because we went up to your property. You have permission to hunt across the valley here, and nothing gobbled over there when we were trying to get them to gobble yesterday evening.
Yep.
And we heard one on private across the valley. And then this one finally fired off. Initially, when I dropped the pin, where I kind of guessed he was at, I thought he was just across the line here on private. But we had in the field we were hooting in, or coyote howling in, there were some cedar trees and a barn, and I made note of that. And when we got back to where I had Wi-Fi, I could bring up my maps better. I drew a straight line because he was right in line with that, and it came to this ridge. And so we figured he was on this point somewhere.
Pinpointed him perfectly.
Well, it came pretty close.
I
I think
perfect.
60 yards from where, cause I had the pin right down here. We crept up this hill, which is pretty sharp, and I was slipping a little bit coming up the hill, and I had a red light on just to see it first, and then I shut it off as we got near the top. And I just took a wild guess. I figured he would be on the end of this point down here, and that's exactly where he ended up being. So I put the Jake decoy right here, and we set, I don't know if you can see the vest back behind us. We set up there hoping that he was down this way. I was kind of worried that, he could be up this way up here also, but luckily he wasn't. I owl hooted and got him to gobble down there. And then from then on, it was basically just talk to him. I pretty much figured that he would pitch down on this point. He wasn't going to go anywhere. And then we had the hen helping us.
Yeah. It was a beautiful experience all around. Watching him come up the hill too and everything, it just made it perfect.
Yeah, you didn't
The whole show.
You didn't let him stick around too long though.
No.
Was he was like, he was like, when should I shoot? And I was like, I remember ending the sentence with now. I was like, I have him. You can shoot him now if you'd like, or something along those lines. And it was, boom. And you didn't even let me finish the sentence, I don't think. But I don't blame you. I'm usually anxious to shoot him too. It's nice to let them put on the show and stuff. You see that on TV sometimes. But here's my thinking about that. A lot of times, and I see it happen a lot of times on TV shows, they let the bird sit there and fight the decoy and carry on, and then all of a sudden the gobbler notices something. Either notices the hunter sitting there, or gets spooked by the decoy. It falls over, or you know, they're beating it up, and then you got a bird that's trying to get away. You know, it's nervous, and you got a gun now trying to get on. Instead of shooting it when it was just sitting still at the decoy, or like yours, he was walking, but he was just slowly walking into the decoy. And I don't blame you one bit. I probably would have shot him too, but.
That's what I was afraid of. You were talking earlier about the light hitting us the wrong way this morning, and I just didn't want him to get spooked and lose him. We put in all the time in the hike and everything else.
Yeah, I did mention that because the sun's going to be coming up right in our face, and it's really the only option we had was to sit there and hope that this bird would come in before the sun got up, and we were kind of illuminated. You know, we were brighter than the backside of the trees. Ideally, it would have been nice to have the sun coming up behind you, but. I think when he landed, he kind of looked around a little bit, and he started coming up this way, and he strutted for that hen, and then he locked onto this decoy, and he's like, you know, heck with that hen. He started strutting straight for the decoy, and I mean, it worked out perfect. And you really didn't even need a decoy on this hunt. He would have come right up this point anyway with that hen there. I mean, we didn't know there was a hen there until she started talking.
Yeah.
But,
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great experience. Nice hanging out with you too.
Yeah, and this is probably my favorite part of the hunt here. After it, you know, it's a beautiful day. The weather's nice. It's supposed to be in the 70s today. Just kind of sitting out here and enjoying nature. We got to hear, you know, several things this morning. Some grouse drumming. You know, there was another barred owl firing off, and then some gobbling. There's a couple birds gobbling on that ridge across there on public. And if I had a tag, we'd go after him.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be a blast.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the number of birds we heard gobbling this morning, being that this was public land. I'm guessing that it's later in the season. Minnesota had their fishing opener this past weekend, so that reduces the number of hunters out here. And this is really steep terrain. This is not, you know, I've hunted some hilly terrain here in the bluff country and whatever you call it, this hilly terrain along the rivers and stuff. Usually you have somewhat of a gentle slope to some of them you can get up. These points and these ridges here, I mean, it's straight up to the top.
If it was any steeper, I don't know if we would have been able to get up it.
Yeah, it was a challenge, a little challenge getting up the hill. Yeah, and I was grabbing hold of trees and stuff to kind of keep from slipping in the leaves, and basically just trying to be as quiet as possible. We wanted to sound like, my thought was to sound like deer if possible. We'd take a few steps and then stop. Take a few steps and stop. And I was constantly monitoring my app for the property line, because there's a property line that runs right up beside the hill, and we were trying to not cross it. So I was constantly checking that, and we were about 10 feet off of it most of the way up. I'm glad it was a success for you this morning.
Me too, sir.
And I'm just glad we didn't have to run up and down these hills all day long.
You need both.